Now there is what we call the trigonometric ratios of angles. There are some angles whose trigonometrical ratios are standard. Now to derive these trigonometrical ratios, we get them from a triangle we draw. Now when we draw this triangle, we assume that these are 2 units, and those are 2 units, and these ones are 2 units. So we draw an equilateral triangle with side 2 units all through. Now an equilateral triangle has got definitely 60 degrees all through, the same angle in between. So here is 60 degrees, here is also 60 degrees. Of course the angle here has been divided into 2. This is 30, and that is 30, the total is 60. So now we shall be looking at the trigonometrical ratios of angles of 60 degrees and 30 degrees. So to get for 60 degrees, it means we shall look for the cos, sine and tan of those angles. So looking at this triangle, after dividing this in like this, dropping this perpendicular so that we form a right angle triangle there, we know that the cosine of 60, cos 60 is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse, and adjacent to 60 is 1, the distance from there to there, over the hypotenuse, which is 2. And so even when you punch this into your calculator, the cosine of 60 is 0.5 over half. Sine of 60 is opposite over hypotenuse. Now if this is our 60 degree angle, the line opposite is that one. So it's going to be opposite over hypotenuse. Our hypotenuse is 2. Our opposite is the root of 3. How do we get the square root of 3? Remember that when we dropped this perpendicular from this point to here, we formulated the right angle triangle, but we do not know the height of this. So to get this height, we used Pythagoras Theorem. So if we called this our value of h, to get this, we said it was 1 squared plus h squared is equal to 2 squared. So it means that our h squared is becoming 2 squared minus 1 squared. 2 squared, which is 4, minus 1 squared, which is 1, gives us 3. So we have a value of h here as 3. H squared is 3. So to get the value of h, of course, h becomes the square root of 3. So that is how we end up with our value of h here is actually equal to the square root of 3. And the square root of 3 is what we have here, root of 3 over 2. So it's the same with the tangent. Tan of 60 is going to be opposite, which is root of 3 over adjacent. The adjacent is 1. And these are the trigonometrical ratios for angle 60. So let's go to the trig ratios of angles of 30 degrees. Trigonometrical ratios of angles of 30 degrees, we are still going to follow that same triangle. Still looking at this triangle, we are having the 30 here. So sine of 30, sine is going to be opposite. What is opposite this angle is that line. So it's going to be 1 over hypotenuse. Our hypotenuse is still going to be 2. So that's how we end up at a half. We arrive at a half. Then the cosine of 30. Cosine of 30, we are going to look at the what is equal to adjacent. Our adjacent is that adjacent to this angle is h, which is root of 3. Divide that by the hypotenuse. Our hypotenuse is 2. We are considering this triangle. So it's root of 3 divided by 2. And that's how we get that ratio. Then for the tangent of 30 is going to be opposite, which is 1, over adjacent, which is root of 3. And that's how we end up with 1 over root of 3. So these are the trigonometrical ratios of 30 degrees. Let's get on to the trigonometrical ratios of other angles. Trigonometrical ratios of 45 degrees, we are going to draw a right angle triangle, and these perpendicular lines will be measuring 2 units, just like the way we did in our previous. But then now this hypotenuse, we will have to calculate for it. Now of course we find the value of the hypotenuse by using Pythagoras Theorem. We know that 2 squared plus 2 squared is going to be equal to the hypotenuse squared. And when you compute it out, you'll find that you'll get 2 root 2 as your hypotenuse. This is how we do it. So 2 squared is 4 plus 2 squared, which is also going to be 4, is going to be h squared. 4 plus 4 is 8. 8 is going to be h squared. So when you find the square root on both sides, this goes with that. You remain with h giving you the square root of 8. But the square root of 8 here is the same as, let me compute it from down here. We have h as the square root of 8, which is the same as the square root of 2 times 4, because 2 times 4 is 8. So we find that the square root of 4 here is 2. So the square root of 4 here is 2, so 2 comes out of the brackets times the root of 2. So this is that is how we got that. So after getting our hypotenuse like that, the rest is just using SOHCAHTOA. This is 45 degrees, that's 45 degrees. So cosine of 45 is going to be opposite, which is the 2. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. The adjacent one here is 2 over hypotenuse, which is 2 root 2. So it is going to be 2 over 2 times the root of 2. And when you end up with 1 over root of 2. Then the sine of 45, sine is going to be opposite over hypotenuse, which is going to be 2 over 2 root 2, which is opposite of hypotenuse, which is 2 over root of 2, which is 1 over root 2. Then the tangent of 45 is still going to be opposite, which is 2 over adjacent, which is 2. And the tangent of 45, which is 2 over 2, is going to be equal to 1. And these are the trigonometrical ratios for 45 degrees. From our knowledge of trigonometrical ratios, let's try and compute these. Without using a table or calculator, find sine 30 plus cos 30. Sine of 30 plus cosine of 30 is going to be equal to, our sine 30 is a half and the cosine of 30 is root 3 over 2. So this is going to be equal to a half plus cosine of 30, which is root 3 over 2. And that will definitely be 1 plus root 3, divide that by 2. Our next question is sine squared theta plus sine squared 60. So sine squared 30 plus sine squared 60. So we are going to get the trigonometrical ratios we got of 30. Now sine of 30 is a half. So this is a half squared. So this is going to be a half. This whole thing is squared plus sine 60 squared. Now the sine of the angle of 60, the ratio we got was root 3 over 2. So it's root 3 over 2 squared. So we shall end up with 1 over 4 plus 3 over 4. And our answer here is 1. Our next question is sine 30 plus cosine of 60. Now for the sine of 30, our sine of 30 is a half. Cosine of 60 is also a half. So it's going to be a half plus a half. And our answer here is also 1. And then now lastly, we have tan 45 over sine of 45. We're still just going to substitute our ratios. Tan of 45 over sine of 45 is going to give us the tangent of 45. We got it as 1. Tangent of 45 is 1. And the tangent of, the sine of 45 is 1 over root of 2. So it's going to be 1. Divide that by 1 over the root of 2. And our answer is going to definitely be the root of 2. Please remember to share this video on other video sharing platforms and also subscribe and hit that like button. Thanks for watching, and this is Arnold Ramakuramia for Kisembo Academy.